Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Welcome. My name is Celeste Garib. I'm the Head of Marketing and Communications here at Pangbourne. We've got three aims for tonight's event. The first is to introduce you to our community made up of our staff, our pupils and our parents. Secondly, we are going to show you as much as we can of our beautiful campus. And thirdly, very importantly, we're here to explain what we can offer your child, not just in terms of the academic, sports and co-curricular activities, but the value that we can bring to their education and to their well-being. We've got a very packed evening lined up, so I'll just show you the agenda. We'll start with a welcome from our headmaster, Mr. Garnier. We'll then hand over to the housemaster of Dunbar House, and that's Dr. Hart. We'll then have Mr. Follett, head of Key Stage 3, talking about the academic subjects that are studied in years 7 and 8. And then we'll hand over to Mr. Hewick, who is Director of Sport, who'll be talking about the sports. Just to explain, we use the form structure here at Pangbourne. So Form 1 is Year 7, Form 2 is Year 8, etc. It's then back to me to introduce you to a pre-recorded video that we have of a Form 1 pupil showing a typical day. We're then back to Dr. Hart, who will be having a chat with one of our parents. It's then over to Mrs. Greenwood, our Deputy Head of Academics, who'll be talking about the progression into Form 3 and beyond. And as part of that, she will be having a chat with a couple of our sixth form students. We then move on to our registrar, Mrs. Herald, who'll be talking about the admissions process and the next steps. And then everyone's kindly agreed to stay for as long as necessary to go through your questions during our Q&A session. Please could I ask that you contribute your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We won't be taking questions through the evening because we do have a lot to get through, but we will get through all of them at the end during that session. And of course, a recording of this will be available afterwards. Finally, just to mention that after this event, there should be a feedback form that will pop up on your screen. We're always looking at ways to improve our events and would very much welcome your feedback if you could spend a moment or two just to complete that before you go and have your dinner. So then, without further ado, I will hand over to Mr. Garnier.
Thank you very much, Celeste. And can I welcome you all? Good evening, everyone. Can I add my welcome to that of Celeste and to thank you for your interest in Pangbourne. We're really pleased to have you here tonight. And I hope very much that it will be helpful to you as you try to work out what is the best option for your son or daughter as they move on to senior school. And of course, there is, for some of you, a lot of choice depending on where you live. You could have lots of schools available to you, each of which are unique in their own way. So I think there are various stages in looking for a school. I appreciate that on this call, we've got a number of people who are at different stages. Some are at the first stage of just trying to fact find. Others have got to the stage where they've been able to visit, at least virtually, and maybe even physically, and to meet people and to see something of the place. And I think that's a really important step in the journey of trying to find the right school. And then the third stage probably involves sitting at home, doing due diligence on the things you've seen and heard, talking to people that you know who knows things about the school to try and work out which school feels right, is right for your son or daughter and is the one at which they're going to thrive. And we're all interested in that outcome. We want to help you to make the best decision for your son or daughter, even if that involves them going somewhere else. So let me start with some facts, making no assumptions about where you are in the journey. Pangbourne is a small school, relatively speaking, 460 boys and girls aged 11 to 18. We have just under 40% girls at the moment, with a plan just to increase that number a little bit over the next few years. And just under half our pupils, that's 220 at the moment, are boarders. They board for 4 nights at least during the week. And we've got some weekly and some full boarders, but the majority are boarding for about 4 nights. Our ethos is very much focused on who your sons and daughters will become as they go through the next few years. hopefully in partnership with us and you. Our aim is to see them fulfill their potential, to enjoy learning, to love learning, and equipping them with skills, with values, with confidence that enables them to go out into the world and to make a positive difference. That's very important to us. So in addition to the academic side of life at Pangbourne, which is important, where we have a wide ability range and some need supporting, others need stretching, and some need both, we want them to achieve their very best in the academic sphere, but we're also interested in who they turn out to be as people. Therefore, there's a big emphasis on character and growth in confidence. We're a community, we say, where the individual matters, and that community, which is built on strong relationships, is a really important feel, as Celeste has said. We hope you get a sense of that tonight. But every pupil is different, and getting to know them as individuals and trying to help them to make the right decisions and to take ownership increasingly of their own learning is really important. And one of the joys of what we do is to see young people growing in confidence and being able to flourish in whichever way is appropriate for them. So just to finish my section, I just want to highlight 3 things which I think are quite distinctive about Pangbourne. The first is that of our emphasis on values. I've mentioned those already, but we have our flag values of kindness, selflessness, moral courage, industry, initiative, resilience, and integrity. We talk about those all the time. They underpin everything we do. And I hope that you will find those compelling. We certainly see them make a big difference in our own lives, but also in the lives of the young people. The second thing would be the range of opportunities we have here. We're a small school, so we have to cut our cloth, but we have lots of opportunities which enable young people to grow, to experience challenge. There's quite an emphasis on that with the Duke of Edinburgh Award and the CCF and leadership training in the 6th form and so on, and a big emphasis on team. So most of our co-curricular activities are in fact collaborative activities, learning to work with other people, which we think is really important. And then thirdly, and a good example of a team activity, are our ceremonial traditions, which are probably the most distinctive thing about Pangbourne. And you can think of them as whole school drama, really, for those in year 9 and above. We all come together to perform to parents and to other visitors, and to see the whole school doing that, where everyone in year 9 and above has an equally important role to play, and all have had to play their part in getting ready for it and aiming for the highest standards, is just a wonderful thing. And they learn so much through it. I'm very happy to talk more about that later on. But I think that's probably enough from me for the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to hand back to Celeste, who I think is going to then pass the ball quickly on to Ian Hart. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garnier. I'm now going to hand over to Dr. Hart, who is the housemaster of Dunbar. Dunbar is the junior house for our Form 1 and 2 pupils. I'm also going to just share my screen so that I can show the video. Which Dr. Hart is going to speak over.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Wonderful. Right, well, very welcome to Dunbar, and I'm very proud to be able to show you around my house. Now, we're going to pause here for a second at the entrance, and it's a good time to talk about the arrival in the morning. Whether pupils come in by car, whether they come in by train or by bus, this is the point of arrival for all Dunbar pupils. And there's always a member of staff here in the morning to meet you and say hello, and pupils generally arrive around 8 o'clock. So we're going to move inside and we're going to have a look around the house. If we could move on, please. So we're coming in through the front doors. This is the view the pupils will have when they arrive in the morning. So coming into the lobby area, you can see beyond the double doors there our main day room. And I think the camera is just going to pan right and just have a quick peek inside the boot room. Just a small room where we can store shoes in the dryer. We can put sports kit. We can put hockey sticks and tennis rackets. And we're then going to move down, have a quick look down the corridor. Now we're going to focus for a second, I think it's going to pause here, on the flag values poster. So as the headmaster referred to, these are our 7 flag values: initiative, selflessness, resilience, integrity, moral courage, industry, and kindness. And above and beyond all the sporting and academic endeavour, if you leave the college showing these 7 attributes, then we think you've done very well indeed. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. So we're going to move now, again, we're turning left past some lovely portraits up on the wall there, taken as an art project. And I think we're just going to pause for a second again on the rowing machine. Now we have an ergo, we have a rowing machine in Dunbar, and we have a very big push on fitness and on exercise and health in the whole college. And the pupils are encouraged and taught how to use this machine. And we have a little 1-minute ergo challenge in Dunbar, where the pupils have to compete and see how far they can row in 1 minute, which is enthusiastically embraced by all the boys and girls. Okay, thank you. Moving on. So we're moving around now. Now, the image is a little bit jerky for me, but I think we're going to go through into the day room. And en route, we're going to pause and have a look at what looks like a blank board. Now, the blank board there I'm pausing on because that's going to be where we're going to shortly inscribe the names of the head boys and the head girls of Dunbar. And it's worth pausing and just talking for a second about the promotion opportunities. In Dunbar, it's very important to give the pupils the chance to show leadership. And so in Dunbar, we have a head boy and a head girl. And we also have 4 watch captains. So the whole of Dunbar is split into 4 watches, aft, forward, port and starboard, for the purposes of inter-house competition. And each of those watches has a watch captain. And we also have a variety of prefects. We have an academic prefect, a sports prefect, charities prefect, and a library prefect as well. And in due course, those names will appear on that board. Okay, thank you. Moving on. I think we're now going to go on into the main Dunbar day room. This is now a big social space. It's very light, very spacious, very airy, and it's the place where pupils spend most of their relaxation time. We have an air hockey table, we have a pool table and football table, all enthusiastically embraced. And I think we're going to have a quick look at the kitchen, if it's scrolling around. So when I first arrived, the kitchen was a rather small area. We've expanded that. So actually we can now do proper baking. We can do cooking in the evening with the boarders. And you can just see some pictures there of our Form 2 camping trip, which we run each year as well. Now, as the camera pans around, you can see where the day pupils leave their things in their lockers on the right-hand side. And I think the camera is going to pause shortly on our small library. So we have our own branch of the library down here in Dunbar. Now, I asked the library prefects a while ago to sort the books out. Now, rather than sort them out by category or genre, they sorted them out, of course, as you would do if you were 11, by colour. So the books are beautifully sorted down there. And just behind the library, you can see, hopefully, some pictures of our Form 2 dinner. Now, every year, we host a dinner for the Form 2 pupils about a week before the end of term. It's a formal sit-down 3-course dinner where they wear the dinner jackets and dresses, and the head boy and head girl have a chance to address the whole house. It's a lovely way to finish off their time in Dunbar. Okay, thank you. Moving on. So as we scroll again around the house, you can see more of the interior. And I think the camera is going to pan over the drum kit that we have in the corner there. So any aspiring drummers are very welcome to use the drum kit. And we're going to take a look out of the window. Now, at the back of Dunbar, we have our own private garden, and beyond that, we have the Biggeries field, which the pupils are welcome to use. And they can go out when the weather is good, they can play rugby, football, they can run around, they can let off some steam outside. And we have a nice trampoline in the garden as well. So there's a lovely outdoor space, and it's nice and secluded for them to use. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I think the camera's going to pan around now and come into the prep room, and it's going to pause here briefly as well. Now, we have our own prep room, which is built as a classroom initially. We tend to use this mainly as a quiet breakout space. Pupils can come in and they can use the computers, they can read quietly, they can play board games, and we use it in the evening for prep for our boarders as well. So it's a nice alternative space to the big, noisy, bustly day room. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on. So we turn and we move out of the prep room. And we just go fleetingly past the laundry and up the stairs, up to the boarders area of the house. Now we have accommodation for boys and girls in Dunbar. The boys are on the right-hand side, and we're going to turn left and head down into the girls' area. Now we're going to have a brief look inside the staff office. There's a small office here. When staff are doing duty, they can be based in here. And we also house our extensive collection of DVDs for film nights, when we break out the popcorn and the bean bags and turn the lights down and watch a film. That's normally on a Wednesday evening. And we try to arrange a variety of activities for our boarders throughout the week. Now, we're now heading into what was a 5-bed dorm. We've now repurposed this as a room for the prefects, the watch captains, head boy and head girl to use during the daytime. They've decorated it beautifully, made it into a really nice, welcoming space that they're allowed to use during the day. Okay, thank you. Now, as you move out of the prefect's room, we're going to take a quick look inside one of the other dorms. Now, this is a small dorm, a 2-bed dorm, in which one of our girl boarders is living at the moment. And again, she's done a really good job of making that nice and homely. And I think she's got a cuddly bear or dog in the corner there, keeping guard. And as we leave the boarding area and we come back downstairs, back down to the front entrance, it's a perfect time to talk about the end of the day. The day ends around 5:45, 6 o'clock in Dunbar, and pupils generally are picked up from the front. And again, there's always a member of staff available to talk at the end of the day, to see how the day has gone, to pass on any concerns, and to find out what's happened. So pick up and drop off are the perfect points to have a chat with the house staff. And that is my virtual tour of Dunbar. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hart, and we'll be back with you later on.
Fantastic, thank you.
So we'll now move on to our head of Key Stage 3, Mr. Follett, who is in our chapel currently.
Hello. Welcome to the Falkland Islands Memorial Chapel, which some of you may have visited before. I'm head of Key Stage 3, or head of section as it's sometimes called, and I have the academic oversight of progress of the Form 1, 2 and 3 pupils. So that's what we would otherwise know as years 7, 8 and 9. I work very closely with Dr. Hart, work with the academic and the pastoral aspects of college life to ensure they're joined up effectively. Between us, we see all the pupils in Dunbar pretty much every day. Pupils in Dunbar study all the traditional core subjects, English, maths, science, as well as geography, history, RS, what we call humanities, of course, and they pick one language from French, Spanish and German. They also study art, design technology, music, drama, computing and PE, and they also have many sessions of games each week. And one of the things that we think works particularly well is the lessons for Dunbar pupils, although they're classed as the junior school or the junior years, they take place in the senior school teaching spaces with the senior school teaching staff. And that helps give, we think, a really good progression for the children who come usually from smaller schools into Dunbar and then into senior school life. We have 2 classes per year group in Forms 1 and 2, years 7 and 8. We keep saying that for a reminder. And these are broadly based on academic ability, assessed at the point of arrival in September in Form 1. But there is movement in both directions from the 2 classes throughout their time during Forms 1 and 2, as we really know and appreciate that pupils progress at different rates. And we think that shows a balance and ensures that the pupils grow in confidence, knowing that they are working at a level that best suits them. My role as head of section also works to bridge the gap between the end of a pupil's time in Form 2 in Dunbar and when they make the move into their first year in the senior houses or divisions as we call them. So that's Form 3 and Year 9. And I'm responsible, one of the things that I think is one of the most important parts of my role is to run the Gcse options process during Form 3. That's currently just got underway with the pupils this year. And the critical part of that is to ensure that the pupils select the right subjects for them as they move into Key Stage 4, Year 10 and 11, or as we call them, Forms 4 and 5, and those are their first public examination years. And I'm confident that I know all the pupils in my section, Key Stage 3, really well, but especially those who come through Dunbar, and of course their parents too, and that really helps when making such important academic choices for the future, because I've already developed that really strong relationship in all parts to help understand what matters, what's important, and a guide towards the future. And finally, in addition to this, if you pursue an interest in coming to Pangbourne, I work in my role as head of Key Stage very closely with the admissions team to help organise the academic assessment and the activity days that we run for prospective pupils as they join either in Form 1, one or two in Form 2, and certainly a good number in Form 3. So that's a summary of my role in Key Stage 3. And back to you, Celeste.
Thank you very much, Mr. Follett. We'll now go over to the Sports Hall, where we'll hear from our Director of Sport, Mr. Hewick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Celeste, for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm the Director of Sport here at Pangbourne, and we run a very busy sporting schedule for the students. As Dr. Hart mentioned as well, we see physical health and lifestyle and activity and sport an integral part of what we do here. We run 4 games afternoons a week, and these cater for all abilities in a wide range of sports and try and give a really broad experience for the pupils, particularly at Dunbar, but across the school. But also including competitive fixtures where we aim to pitch them at the right level for all of the students. The 2 main broad aims that we have within sport here at Pangbourne. The first is developing and fostering a lifelong love of physical activity and sport. And we do that by developing the skills required to take part in a wide range of sport, also the confidence so they can go into any aspect of a sports club or a gym and know how to use the equipment or take part in a desired sport. Also developing the transferable skills, teamwork, leadership that build within sport and particularly team sport. We do this by having 3 main principles. The first is attitude, and expect all the students to bring a first-class attitude every time and to simply do their best. That's all I can ever ask of them. Second is challenge, and to enjoy the challenge, enjoy the process of working towards and achieving their goal. Third is aspiration. We encourage them all to lay the path to the next Pangbournian and to build it as high as they can go. These are actually developed by one of the sixth formers on the call you'll hear from later on, and we work quite closely together to develop some of these principles. Within Dunbar, we aim to develop an all-round broad experience, as I mentioned, of sport. And we do this across 3 terms. And what's integral to that is having a really positive experience of competitive fixtures. And these will take place on a Wednesday afternoon. They're mainly located, a lot of the fixtures that we go away for are within a 30 to 40-minute radius of the school, so relatively local. And we aim to pitch them at the right level for all of the students so they can all take part and have an opportunity to develop those transferable skills as we've mentioned about. In the Michaelmas term, the boys will mainly take part in football with a little bit of rugby. The girls will take part in hockey with a little bit of netball and cricket. In the Lent term, the boys will focus on rugby with a little bit of hockey, and the girls mainly take part in netball. In the summer term, both the boys and the girls will take part in cricket, with all of them having opportunities to also take part in athletics and tennis. And this is alongside the PE lessons that they get once a week. We aim to change focus slightly and develop understanding of key knowledge and skills within lifestyle activities, such as being able to use the gym safely, use equipment safely, and able to go into that environment with confidence. Also looking at developing their swimming and badminton skills that they might do post or take part in a more of a lifestyle activity. Now, as you'll see, I'm located in the sports hall, and we're very blessed to have wonderful facilities here at Pangbourne. So you see behind me, I'm sorry if I'm a bit echoey, but it's just the nature of the sports hall. Up behind me, you probably can't see it, there's our strength and conditioning suite. And outside, we have just the other side of the sports, we have our pretty much brand new swimming pool, which is an excellent facility that we use. Also outside and on site, we have a fully floodlit AstroTurf, which is due to be relayed this summer. And that's something I'm looking very, very much forward to, and it'd be an excellent, it already is an excellent facility, but it'd be even better. We also have 4 cricket squares, 7 rugby pitches, and 3 football pitches and an athletics track all on site. I think we're very lucky to have that with all within the campus confines. Off-site, we have our boat club, which is located in the village of Pangbourne and on the River Thames. We also have off-site our equestrian centre. For those that on the call, perhaps thinking sport is a possible route through and looking at high performance sport or getting into sport at a higher level, maybe not now, but in the future, we run our sports performance program, which covers 3 core areas of leading to what is high performance eventually. strength conditioning. These cover strength and conditioning, sports psychology, nutrition, physiotherapy support, core skill development in the sport that they choose, and also parental support. Now that's a wraparound year-long program that is supportive for the student. And if you are interested in that, I would encourage you to get in touch more about that later on. Now, I'm very proud of the sporting offer we have here at Pangbourne, and I think physical activity in sport is probably quite integral to what Pangbournians would say makes up a Pangbournian, and that's what we try and sort of deliver. Really, I hope that gives you a bit of an overview and a taste of what Pangbourne sport is all about. That concludes sporting overview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hewitt. Next on the agenda is a video that I'd like to play for you. When we were planning this event before Christmas, we were fully expecting our students to be back on site after a couple of weeks. Obviously, with the lockdown, that hasn't happened. But fortunately, we do have a Form 1 student whose parent is a teacher and lives on site. And Eva has kindly agreed to create a video which will provide you with an insight into her daily life, very much from her perspective. So I shall share that with you.
Hi everyone and welcome to Dunbar. This is the junior boarding house and we hang out here in the mornings and see all our friends. We also play days of games. We come here at break and lunch too, and we play air hockey, pool and table football. So this is basically the centre of our school for us. So there are no senior pupils allowed here, and at the back is piggeries. So we have the playing fields and the trampoline if you want to have a jump on that. Welcome to the Falkland Island Memorial Chapel. This is where we have assemblies, choir, concerts and services. These are some of the classrooms where I do English and modern languages. My favourite subject is German and my teacher is so nice. This is study block and we have a number of lessons here, for example maths, history and RS. The teachers make us feel really welcome and always encourage our learning. Whenever we need help we just raise our hand and they're always happy to help. This is the mess hall and this is where we eat lunch. We enjoy eating with our friends and we sometimes have themed meals, for example our Christmas lunch. This is the Harding Communication Centre, the home of music at Pangbourne. Let's take a look inside. This is the Nancy Harding Recital Hall and is a great place for small concerts. In music we tend to have a giggle and at the same time we are learning everything we need to know. After lessons we have co-curricular, sport. I love sport, let's go! I enjoy learning new things, like I couldn't do this skill, but my coaches have taught me how to do that and they're really nice. And I just love teamwork, I love being a part of the hockey team, I love it and I'm so much fitter than I was, especially coming out of lockdown, and I just really enjoy it.
Welcome to art. Recently in art I've been doing shading and proportion, and I really struggle with art, but my teacher sets me challenges and I can push the boundaries and I've learned a lot. Now I love it. Welcome to design technology. This is where I come once a week to make projects. For example, we made door signs earlier in the term. I have fun exploring the machines and my favourite's the laser cutter. And if I make a mistake, my teachers will often help me correct it.
Welcome to Devitt House. I hope this has given you a flavour of what my day is like at Pangbourne. As you can tell, I really enjoy it, and I love the great open spaces, the great community, and the fantastic opportunities here. Enjoy some views of Devitt.
So I hope you agree, Eva's done a fantastic job on her own of showing what a day is like for her. I'm now going to hand you back to Dr. Hart, who is joined by Jen Griffin. Jen has 2 children at Pangbourne and she's kindly agreed to join us this evening to talk about her experience of Pangbourne as a parent.
Okay, good evening. Jen,
Hi,
thank
good
you.
evening.
Hello there. Hi. Hi, good to see you again. Jen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I've got a few questions to ask you, if that's okay. Just to start with, your daughter Eva has been with us since Dunbar and is now in Form 4. Why did you choose Pangbourne for her?
Well, good evening. So just to start off, that my Eva is not the same Eva that you've just had the pleasure of seeing. What a smasher she is. Yeah. So for Eva, why Pangbourne? Well, it was literally the instinctive gut reaction when we went to see the school. We were introduced to it by friends who already have the son there, so we knew of the school then. So when we went on one of these open days, for us, Eva decided almost instantly that this was where she wanted to be. But actually, do you know what? It wasn't until my husband and I came to see the school on an active working day that we really made our decision that this was the right place for her, and subsequently for Alex too. I think the feeling as we walked around the college and when we bumped into other students moving around, their demeanor, their wonderful manners, just it emphasized the whole ethos of the school, not only for the academic side of things, but also just how well-rounded these individual people were that we were coming across. And that for us was really the crux of it.
That's lovely, thanks. I mean, again, thinking back to the time before the children were here, can you recall when you first started looking into senior schools for Eva?
Yeah, it seems like a million years ago now. I think we probably were very seriously looking from around about Form 5. Just with Eva and Alexander both came from a state primary school, so we wanted to have time to, well, obviously to make the right decisions, but also to prepare for entrance exams and so on. So yeah, probably from about Form 5. Okay.
Now again, thinking back to that kind of time, what were your preconceptions about Pangbourne before you found out more about us? I'm interested to hear what you thought.
So, well, really our introduction to Pangbourne, as I said earlier, were from friends. So we had always had a very positive outlook and preconception of the school. So really preconception is not really something that I would say more from people who have come to me subsequently and have been considering their children for the school. And I think a lot of people get stuck on the traditional aspect of the school in terms of the nod to the navel thing and the parading and what have you. And for a lot of people, they're put off by that. And my response to that has always been, you must just come and see it, because it really is wonderful, and it embodies what the whole ethos of the school is. And just to actually see these girls and boys taking part in something as a team and with such pride in each other and in themselves, as well as the school that they're representing, is really quite marvelous. And I think it should be seen as an absolute positive, as opposed to be something that's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are fantastic events, aren't they? They're really fantastic events.
Oh, just amazing.
And if I just turn to now to Alexander for a second, when it came to choosing a school for him, was it a straightforward decision for him to come to the same school, for him to also come to Pangbourne?
Instantly. Alex wanted to start the day that Eva started. I think you find that once you're part of the Pangbourne community, subsequent siblings are, well, they're there as well. So it becomes something that the whole family are involved in. So for Alexander, it was a done deal, really.
Fantastic. Now, most parents worry, I'm sure, about how their child will settle into senior school. How do you think Dunbar helped Eva and Alex to settle in, do you think?
Well, it's a huge step for any child, I think, moving from the confines of a primary school, particularly a state primary school, and then taking that big step into secondary life. It's a big deal, and I think Dunbar is just, certainly from my experience anyway, has just been a very nurturing step into the senior life, particularly of Pangbourne. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think it is it's a gentle way to enter the school, isn't it, to come through Dunbar, certainly. Yeah.
But for sure, and I think then certainly from when Eve went into Form 3 or year 9, she sort of felt that she had probably a bit more of an upper hand because obviously she knew the school so well and the terminology and, you know, the language of the school. So she felt that she definitely was at an advantage as opposed to the other girls and boys that are joining in fresh.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So slightly different question now then. Has anything surprised you since your children joined Pangbourne? Is there anything you weren't expecting or weren't aware of before they started?
I think the real surprise to me was how quickly the teachers and their tutors were to single out and highlight their individual strengths and weaknesses, and to see the children as individuals and to nurture that and develop it, and that was evident very, very early on, much quicker than I had expected, certainly within the first few weeks of the first Michaelmas term. And I think that really was a surprise to me. And from there on, really, they've taken off and never looked back. And it's just been marvelous watching them develop, not just academically, but as individuals.
Yeah, just kind of holistically and all-round development. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
That's really lovely to hear. Now, I think it's fair to say that Pangbourne is well known for its close community. Do you feel there's a strong community amongst the parents as well?
Definitely. And that starts really from a very early stage. I think there was a parents WhatsApp group set up for the new starters in September. So there are a number of the parents WhatsApp groups which have been invaluable source of sharing information and lost property and all sorts of things like that. But also it's a very sociable school, and there are other lovely events that we can look forward to when we're back into normal times, such as the infamous black tie dinner, which is always something to look forward to. And then as a bigger school, then there's obviously the ball, and there are family quizzes and sport events, and they're all supported by the wonderful PPA. That's a great thing to be involved in.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from my point of view, it's been great to get to know the children as well, but also all the parents also. It's been fantastic to have that community relationship. Now, Jen, the last question, this is your chance now. Is there anything that you would like to ask me? Would you like to ask me a question?
Oh, goodness. I don't think there is, Dr. Hart, other than can you show us your blue suede shoes?
No, I've been specifically banned by the headmaster. You can't see the blue shoes, no.
Well, then, no, I don't really have any questions, but thank you for asking.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your answer. They've been really helpful. I think we should probably hand back to Celeste now. Thank you.
And can I just add my thanks, Jen? It was very good of you to come and join us this evening and share your experience of Pangbourne. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So now we're going to move on to our Deputy Head of Academic, Mrs. Greenwood, who's going to be talking about progression into Form 3 and having a chat with a couple of our sixth form students.
Thank you very much, Celeste. You've already heard from Mr. Follett about the broad curriculum that we offer in Dunbar. Before you know it, your children will be selecting their GCSEs and then probably their sixth form subjects as well. So I think it's worth touching a little bit on that and how we help to guide them through that. We spend a lot of time in Form 3 talking to the students, making sure that the options they pick at GCSE will support them in the future and keep as many paths open to them as possible. We try to continue with a broad curriculum as they move on. So they will all obviously do English, maths and science. All students have to do at least one of history, geography and RS. And students are encouraged to take a foreign language if they're able to. Looking further forward to the sixth form, we go through another rigorous process as they choose their A-level or BTEC subjects. And students will take 3 or 4 subjects in the sixth form, possibly including an EPQ, an extended project qualification or a core maths qualification as well. On leaving the college, they follow a really wide range of futures and of courses, ranging from this year, a student with an offer to study natural sciences at Cambridge, students holding a wide range of offers to other universities, and a number who choose to go into the apprenticeship route and follow that rather than signing up for university at the moment, particularly in the current situation. That said, education at Pangbourne is about a lot more than the academic subjects that are on offer, as important as they are. And we do place a great emphasis on teamwork and on building leadership skills, as the headmaster referred to earlier on. Lower down in Dunbar, all the students are assigned to a watch, and we have watch captains, and they start to learn the skills of supporting each other and working with each other down in Dunbar. From the Form 2 camping trip, how they help each other. All the Form 3s then take part in the Bronze Duke of Edinburgh Award, and they will all spend a week away in the Brecon Beacons under normal circumstances. And there we challenge them to take part in activities that will take them out of their comfort zone, and hopefully they will grow as a part of that. Higher up the school in Form 4, they will all take part in the combined cadet force in some way or another. And then in Form 5 or Year 11, they have a choice of doing their Silver Duke of Edinburgh Award, staying in the CCF, or having some extra time to do work if that's what they want to focus on at that point. In the sixth form, we have approximately 30 of our sixth form students every year doing their Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, which is really valuable and really enhances their skills in those sorts of areas. So we try to develop them both in and out of the classroom. I'm going to talk to some of our sixth form students now. So if I could just ask Elise to introduce herself maybe and explain what she's doing and her role within the college.
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm Chief of College this year. I was in Dunbar quite a while ago now, in 2014, and I'm doing economics, English and history at A-level.
Elise, can you tell us about your university aspirations and where you're hoping to go and things like that?
So I'm hoping to study law at Durham. I currently have offers from Nottingham and Exeter, and still waiting on Durham, but I'm happy with those two anyway. But yeah, hopefully a career in law. So
great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Morgan, can you introduce yourself to us slightly?
Hello, I'm Morgan. I'm currently in the lower sixth at Pangbourne, and I joined Dunbar in 2015. I'm studying geography, English, and classics for my A-levels, and I also have a sister in the first form.
Thank you very much. So Morgan, if you can just stay there for a minute, I'd like to ask you about your best memory of being in Dunbar.
My best memory of being in Dunbar. I'm particularly fond of the second form dinner, at which I had the opportunity to have a speech or do a speech as the ex-head boy of the division. And I particularly remember that, being able to talk to my year group and reminisce on the activities and the sports and things we've done over the past 2 years. And I think doing that speech in second one particularly helped with my confidence through further years, and certainly helped form bonds with the people in my year group that have stayed strong to this day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Morgan. Elise, what would you say your best memory of being in Dunbar was?
I think for me was all of the hockey fixtures against other schools. I think the bonds you form with your team are just incredible. It's a great way to meet new people who might not be in your class in Dunbar. But I can just remember going to like competitions, playing against other schools, and the way we came together when we won and also when we lost was really amazing.
Thank you. Elise, how do you feel being in Dunbar helped to prepare you for moving into Form 3?
I think because you learn in the senior school buildings, it's like a familiar surrounding. So when you do go into the senior school, it's not that scary going to a bigger environment.
Thank you. Morgan, what would you say to that question? How did being in Dunbar help you prepare for moving into Form 3?
I think similar to the familiar surroundings, the familiarity of the naval uniform, and being able to sort of understand and navigate your way around that uniform and understand how it functions. But Also, along with that, being able to fit into the Pangbourne community as a whole, and kind of understand the ethos of the senior school, really help bridge from the junior to the senior.
Thank you. Elise, could you add anything to that for us?
Yeah, so I think obviously you've heard earlier on in the webinar about the flag values. As pupils, you really learn about the ethos of the school, and I think the Pangbourne way, if you want to put it like that, your character is kind of developing as you go through the school, but learning about all the resilience and moral courage really helps you settle into the senior school.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Elise and Morgan, for speaking to us tonight. It's been really helpful. And I will hand back to Celeste. Thank you.
Yes, thank you both very much indeed. I'm now going to hand over to Mrs. Herald, our registrar, who's going to talk about the admissions process and the next steps for those of you who are still in the early stages of looking at a senior school for your children.
Good evening. Well, I think the majority of people listening in tonight, I think most of you have children in year 5, but some slightly younger. And that, I would say, is probably the perfect time for you to be starting to look, because the process is going to sort of begin in earnest at the start of the next academic year. So it's a great time to be looking. And I say sort of perfect in an ideal world, which obviously we're not right now. But a lot of what I'm going to say is what would happen in a normal world. So I guess the next step really would be for you to come and visit us. And there are a number of ways for you to do that. Firstly, you can come individually. You can book an appointment to see Mr. Garnier at any time and bring your child along with you. We've got open events, so very, very much hoping that our April open event will go ahead in physically on site. So, pinning a lot of hopes on that at the moment. But then we will also follow up with another open day in the autumn. And that's a whole college open day, but then there will also be a Dunbar specific open event in the autumn as well. So there are quite a few more open events that will be planned, assuming that we're all kind of starting to get back to normal again. We'll also try to arrange taster days. Up until last March, quite a lot of year 6 children would come for a taster day and spend the day in Dunbar, just getting to experience what life is like. And it's been a real shame that for the cohort coming in September this year, we haven't been able to accommodate many taster days. I imagine if we open up in the summer, there may be big demand for that. But hopefully by the time your children are in year 6, we will be able to host taster days again. Come the time that you decide that you want to formalise things and progress an application for your child would need to be registered with us first formally by completing a registration form, which is on our website. And that would need to be done at the latest by the end of October of year 6. So it's a very straightforward online form, which is easy to find on the website, and you can do that at any time. After that, we will arrange the assessment day, which takes place at the end of January of year 6, towards the end of January. And the children will come here to spend part of the day. They'll take an assessment and they'll take part in some group activities. So we will mix them all up and they'll get to know lots of other children. The assessment itself is not to be viewed with great anxiety. It's a computer-based set of reasoning tests, so verbal, non-verbal and mathematical reasoning, and they are standardized according to your child's exact age. And also it's an adaptive test, so the questions will adapt according to your child's previous answers. So whether the answer is right or wrong, the next question will be slightly more difficult or slightly easier. So it will level out at your child's level. But as I say, it's not something to be viewed with great deal of anxiety. We don't just base our decision making on the outcome of that. We take great care observing the children as they're undertaking the fun activities that we lay on for them. And we don't formally interview either. The senior staff circulate around the activities and chat with your children as they're getting on with their little tasks. And that gives us a much greater insight actually into their personalities. So we have just as much fun as the children do. The offers are normally made within a couple of weeks of the assessment day. And the acceptance deadline is the beginning of March. So there's a little bit of time for those who've been offered places to reach their decisions. So basically, if you have any questions about the college, about the assessment, to talk to us about your children, basically, I would just urge you to get in touch with the admissions team. We're available by email, by phone, and the contact details are all on the website. And we are always available throughout holidays and lockdowns. So please do get in touch. And back to Celeste.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to the Q&A session, I just wanted to draw your attention to our virtual open day webpage. Here you can find a lot more information, as well as a number of pre-recorded videos from key members of staff, but also some videos that have been created by our students. There's also an opportunity to leave your details and very importantly, an interactive map where you can have a look inside some of our facilities. I would also say that in terms of the next steps for those of you who are just starting out on your journey, I would recommend that you register your interest and that you pre-register for our next open day. Now, we are hopeful that we'll be able to operate some form of face-to-face open day in April, but the date will need to be confirmed. You can register for that either using this page, which is visit.pangbourne.com, or by emailing the admissions team on admissions@pangbourne.com. And just a quick reminder before we go on to the Q&A session, there will be a feedback form that pops up after this event. Please do give us a moment of your time just to complete that for us. So then, a number of questions have come in, and I see that a number of those have been answered. I will start with a question regarding the admissions process. A question regarding second children, which I'll direct towards Mrs. Herald. Do second children go through the same admissions process?
Yes, they do. They go through exactly the same process. We do have a sibling policy in that you know that we love having families here. We love having siblings, but we would obviously need to take into account whether we are right for the second child and whether the second child is going to thrive here. So that's the reason why we undertake the same assessment process, just because it's there to make sure that we are the right learning environment for every child.
Fantastic. And on a similar vein, is there an admissions registration fee?
There is. It's £100 currently.
Okay, thank you. A question that I think perhaps Mr. Garnier could answer for us. Could you explain a bit about the CCF?
Yes, certainly. I held off answering that in written form, just so this. So the CCF, just in case anyone doesn't know, is an activity in schools which is sponsored by the MOD, and its aim is to encourage the development of character qualities and teamwork. So we, like many schools, about 500 schools in the country, have a CCF, a combined cadet force, as it's known. It doesn't start until year 10. And we, at the moment, require all our pupils in year 10, that's Form 4, to take part in that for at least a year. You know, then a few can continue on if they want to. I think Morgan's been in the CCF, still in the CCF, yeah, nodding away, great. It's a you know, fun activity sponsored by the MOD. Focuses on team activities in a military context, but the aim is not about recruitment. It's just a series of challenging activities outdoors, working together, solving problems, you know, we're very proud of that. It doesn't start earlier because there is a minimum age limit for CCF, and prior to that, in year 9, third form, Form 3, we put everyone through the Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award. That's a feature of our co-curricular programme, which I think they really enjoy, and they spend a week in Wales, normally you know, doing their practice expeditions, and then do the assessed expedition here, as well as doing the other volunteering and skills aspects of the award. And then I think you may have heard Ian Hart say in Dunbar they have their Form 2 camping trip as well. So there's a progression through the school after CCF, leading on to silver and gold awards in the Duke of Edinburgh as well in the 6th form.
Lovely, thank you very much, Mr. Garnier. A question I'd like to direct at Mrs. Greenwood. There's a couple of questions actually. The first is, what does a typical 8 till 6 day look like in terms of lessons? And then a question that's linked to that is, is there a range of after school activities?
Thank you. So the lessons tend to run from 8:25 until approximately maybe 3:15. That would be the academic portion of the day, if you like, when they are in their lessons. After that time, there are 2 parts to the afternoon. So one is a longer activities slot that would be given over to their sport generally, although they do activities where they can experience different sort of enrichment things going on, or some of them will do their music, their drama, those sorts of things. There's then a shorter portion of the day where we tend to run academic enrichment clinics that pupils can go to get some help. For Dunbar pupils, that's a time when they can sit and do some prep so that they don't have any homework to take home with them at the end of the day. We do understand that for those year 7 and 8 pupils, an 8 till 6 day is a very long time. So we try and give them the opportunity to get their work done in that time so they don't take anything home with them at the end of the day. It's also a time where they can do choir. They have those sorts of activities going on, other music groups, and sometimes it's an opportunity for them to actually run around and play outside with their friends in Dunbar. So I hope that's answered the question.
Thank you very much. I'll direct the next question to Mr. Follett. Question here asking whether there are any non-sporting extracurricular activities such as drama or dance.
The short answer is yes, as well as drama, which takes place through the curriculum, so normal timetabled lessons each week. In Dunbar, there is Dunbar production of sorts towards the end of the Michaelmas term, so a bit more of a Christmas theme to it. And then the short answer is yes, you can do drama. There is drama outside the curriculum as well as inside, and the pupils who have a particular passion or interest, they can start to pursue Trinity exams as well as get involved in the senior productions, whether they're backstage or in sound and lighting, extra areas like that.
Thank you. And a related question is, do children have the opportunity to do a GCSE in drama?
Yes. Yeah, it's a pretty popular subject. So all the subjects I mentioned earlier are GCSE options. Music, if we were looking away from the traditional book-based, one might say, academic subjects to the more practical, there's art, design, technology, textiles, music, drama, physical education, and in addition to that, business studies. I'm sure I will have forgotten something, computing. But yes, certainly you can do drama GCSE.
Thank you, that's great, thanks. A couple of questions for Dr. Hart. First of all, is there a house mistress and or matron in Dunbar?
Yes, there is. Well, I mean, there's the housemaster, which of course is me. I have an assistant, Mr. Culhoun, who assists me. He's my deputy. And then we have a day matron who comes in, Lisa, who comes in and keeps the house tidy and looks after the children as well. And of course, my wife, who teaches at school, is also resident on the building as well. So there's a very, very big staff presence in Dunbar. There's always someone in Dunbar at any point during the daytime. It's never left unstaffed at any point.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And another question, how do you integrate the boarding and day pupils in Dunbar?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it'd be very hard to tell between them, actually. I mean, the boarders have their own space upstairs. We encourage the boarders to stay downstairs with the day pupils during the daytime. So in fact, during the daytime, there's almost no difference. The only real difference would be changing for games, really. So the day pupils will keep their things in their locker. They'll go to the change rooms and change there, whereas the boarders will change upstairs in their bedrooms. But other than that, then they're completely integrated in the same classes, they're in the same tutor groups. You know, we don't run a day house and a boarding house. They're all in together. So there's almost no separation in the daytime between the day pupils and the boarders. And of course, at 6 o'clock, then when the day pupils go home and the boarders go to supper, then of course the boarders then take over the house and it becomes their home in the evening.
Fantastic, thank you. I've got a couple of questions for Mr. Hewick. The first is a pretty straightforward question. Is swimming all year round?
No, it's an outdoor pool. So it's a bit cold at the moment. We run it when we can. So when the weather's nice enough, essentially, PE lessons or games when the weather's nice.
Fantastic. And the other question that's come in is, Pangbourne has a strong reputation for sports. What if my child is not particularly sporty?
Yeah, so we try and sort of pitch the level of sport physical activity at the right level for the child, and not force anyone to do anything they're not particularly comfortable with. And I think a classic example that is quite topical is contact rugby. Making the child make that decision and coaching it in a safe way that they can access it if they want to, but also providing the opportunity for competitive sport and to learn those key skills that I spoke about earlier on. As they move through the school, there's more element of choice once they've had a broad experience at the early stages.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Oh, actually, I've got another question for you, Mr. Hewick. Is there an opportunity to play or learn golf?
Yes, as they move through the school when they're a bit older. I think early on, if they've already got an interest taking part in golf outside of school, we can arrange for them to do that, particularly if they're already at a certain level. But as they get older, there's opportunity during activities to pick golf as an activity.
Lovely. I've actually got a couple of other swimming related questions. The first is, do we have a swimming team who compete against other schools?
Yes, it's growing and sort of starting at, it's relatively new for us swimming as a competitive sport. We run a few galas throughout the summer term. I wouldn't consider it as something that is we attend a gala every week in the summer term. That's not what we're able to offer, but we do offer it as a PE lesson in that core curriculum time, but also as a games option where there are some opportunities for galas and competitive elements of swimming, more so as they move up through the school.
Okay, and again, related to swimming, if your child is a keen swimmer, are there other options to continue swimming throughout the year?
Yeah, so for some people, and this is across a number of different sports, who have got quite a high interest in something that we're unable to particularly offer, we can offer a balanced and mixed program where they might opt at different times take part in that sport, but with the expectation that when they are selected for college teams, they take part in that. But I think it's very much an individual case-by-case basis. I don't think we can say there's an ultimate, this is what we do for everyone. If there are obviously individual contexts, and we deal with that as and when it comes through. the short answer is yes, we can manage that situation.
Great, great. I've got some more sporting questions.
Okay.
Next, is contact rugby mandatory for all children?
No, it's not mandatory. I'd never force anyone to take part in contact rugby. Give them the opportunity to try it if they want to. Whilst it's encouraged that they take part in rugby, there is the non-contact version that we run parallel to that, and that's consistent. That's all the way across the school. So I think this is something that the game has grown over time, managing, and I think we offer it in three distinct levels, really, of non-contact rugby element, which is very much touch, the ended contact option, and then the full contact version of the game. And it's having the right level of game for the right people at the right time. And that for us is really important in developing that. So I hope that answers the question.
Fantastic. And then just one more, we'll let you have a rest. What standard would you expect from pupils applying for a sports scholarship, and in which sports?
Yeah, good question. It depends at what age. I'm going to go with at Dunbar to start with, and we offer an exhibition level there, which is not full scholarship. They're encouraged to apply for that when they reach Form 3. And essentially what we're looking for is an all-round sport ability. We're not looking for someone who's totally specialist in a certain area, but that's fine if they do that. But someone who can run, catch, throw, jump, those core coordination and skill elements that underpin most physical sporting activity, and obviously a huge interest in it. So one of my difficult questions to a prospective sports scholar is who's your favourite sports person and why? And just having that sort of understanding of the wider sporting context.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I'd like to go back to Mrs. Greenwood, please. A question has come in asking, what support do we offer children with learning needs such as dyslexia?
So our learning support department is one of our flagship departments within the college, really. We have a lot of support available for students when they enter the school, and we continue to support them all the way through to their GCSEs and their A-levels. Within Dunbar in 1B and in 2B, we do have TA support that will be with those students quite a lot within their normal classroom working, and then we offer the individual one-to-one lessons outside to help support them. As they move into Form 3, we try to reduce the amount of TA support that they get in class, but then we do have that one-to-one support that continues. We also support their needs within the exam situation in terms of whether that's on a laptop or requiring them extra time and things like that to help them achieve their full potential. So please, if you are worried about that, if you think that's something that your child needs, then do get in touch with us early. We would encourage you to come in and discuss that with our head of learning support. She's also very willing to go and visit the primary school and to liaise in that way to see what we can do to help support your child.
Lovely, thank you. And a question that came in advance of this evening is to do with academic bridging. This parent has commented that some schools have not provided the best online education. And I was wondering if Pangbourne would be doing any catch-up work to help Year 7s meet the academic requirements for the first year of secondary school.
I think that's a really good question, and I know that a lot of schools have not been able to provide the same day-to-day lesson structure that maybe we've kept going at Pangbourne. I think what's really important is that when they come into the school, our first priority would be to make them comfortable at being in school. And then we will look at what we can do to help support them make that transition. I think it's about the skills that they learn. That's more important to me, I think, at this level than the content that they might have missed. We can catch up with that later on. So it's making sure they develop those skills, and we will be looking to adapt our curriculum in Year 7 to make sure that everybody is in the same place and is then able to access those GCSEs later on and access the work because they have the skills available to them. So rather than putting on extra lessons for them, if you like, we would look to develop what we offer within the curriculum to make sure that they can access what we want to offer them later on.
Lovely, thank you. I've got a number of questions to do with specific subjects, so I'll direct them to you to begin with, but if you think someone else is more appropriate, please do say. So one question is, how much attention is given to music?
So music as a curriculum subject, I believe Mr. Follett can jump in if I'm wrong here. It's 1 lesson a week in Dunbar, 1 lesson a week in third form, but then it is offered as a GCSE subject in its own right. So that would get the same loading in GCSE years as the other option subjects get. Equally then, there is the co-curricular side of music. So within Dunbar, all the students are in Dunbar choir and are obviously able to learn instruments and things like that as well. As they move into the main part of the school, then we have a school choir and also a chamber choir that practices, as well as the marching band, which is a large part of what we do here. So music is one of those subjects similar to drama that has a curriculum presence, but it also has a co-curricular aspect to it as well.
Okay, so related to that is a question about drama productions, how many we do in a year and whether everyone is able to get involved in the performing arts.
So Dunbar do their own individual production once a year. So everybody in Dunbar will be in the production once a year. Form 3 then do their own production once a year as well. And then Form 4 and above, we have the main college production that is on once a year. We don't generally have Dunbar and Form 3 taking part in that college production. The amount of time that it takes is quite significant. So they do their own productions and then join in from Form 4 upwards in that. Probably worth saying that every 3 years, the production is a musical. So you've got that aspect coming up there as well.
Fantastic. Again, a couple of very specific questions to do with subjects. One asking whether we offer food technology as an individual subject.
We don't offer that as an academic subject. We actually have an activity running, which is on cooking and encouraging them to learn that. It also comes into our life skills program, actually further up the school where they do that, but we don't offer it within the curriculum. So we have design technology and we also have textiles, but we don't have food technology, I'm afraid.
And of course, there is the infamous Come Dine With Me activity.
Which is a brilliant night, love it. And the bake-off as well is always another good night for the divisions to get involved in.
Fantastic. Someone has asked if we can explain a bit more about art and design. Oh, in what way? Perhaps if the person asking the question could elaborate a little.
So if I start talking and then if there is an elaborate answer, you can let me know and I'll change tack. We offer art and we also offer design technology in forms 1, 2 and 3. So all students will study that. Art in the dedicated art block and also DT down in the design block in the main area of the school with the specialist teachers working with them. When they then select their GCSEs, we offer a GCSE in art, we offer a GCSE in design technology. Within that, you can specialise in resistant materials or in textiles. So you can't do both resistant materials and textiles because it's technically the same GCSE. But you can do one or other of those GCSE subjects. You can do both of those GCSE subjects, that's fine. We just want to have a conversation with the students to make sure they're aware of the coursework that they will have to do if they study both of those subjects. As you move into the 6th form, we then have an A-level in fine art, we have an A-level in photography, and we also have a BTEC in design technology. So we offer those 3 subjects then in the 6th form. Again, you can study more than one of those, but we would want to have a conversation to ensure that you are aware that you're limiting your options in the future as you move on to university. But if you want to go and do a specific art-based subject, then you may do 2 of those subjects in the 6th form. I hope that's answered the question.
Okay, thank you. And then one more subject-specific question. Is there extra support for children who are interested in IT?
Yeah, so they will all do IT and computing through the curriculum. It is an area then that we are looking to develop our sort of coding club way of looking at these things. But it is available in the curriculum. It's available as a GCSE. It's offered then as an A-level. And there are also a variety of MOOCs and subjects like that that students can follow in the sixth form if they just want to improve their knowledge, but not do an A-level in the computing.
Lovely, thank you very much. I think we have covered off all of the questions, either live or on the Q&A. So thank you very much to everyone who has contributed to the questions and for coming along. So I think we'll finish there. Thank you very much to everybody who's attended this evening. Thank you very much to our hosts, to our students, and especially to Jen for sharing her experience of being a parent at Pangbourne. And then just a final reminder of the next steps. If you haven't already registered, please do complete the form on the webpage to indicate your interest in hearing about further events that we're running. And as Mrs. Harold said, the admissions team is available for any further questions that you may have. So thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.